What is going on? How's everybody doing this evening? Get my secondary monitor all set up here. Hope you're all doing well. Get some excitement this week. Always a good time. Bitcoin ran into a major yearly average. What does that mean for Ethereum, right? Is going to be what we look for here. So, a couple areas that we've been anticipating, barring a move for Bitcoin up towards that $26,700 level, has been met as well, right? So, a couple of things, and we'll just jump right into it here. How's everybody doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thanks for the new follows here on TikTok. Let's see what we got over here on YouTube as well. Raymond, how you doing, buddy? Sapella, yo yo. So Ethereum monthly open played a huge role. Over the last, I think it was a week and a half here, we've been looking, or 2 weeks now, going into March. If you recall, when we were looking at the live stream the evening of I think it was March 1, right? We had a really nice little move off month open, month pivot. It was right in this region, up towards the previous week high, that 1680 level, which we all know pretty well at this point is our and was our November high, right? So this was a really ideal area to short in that time frame. Once again, that was the previous week, right? If I throw that back on here, you can see it was our previous week value area high coming in there from 2 weeks ago. November high as well, so it holds a lot of credence in that regard. And we can see how this has offered up a multitude of opportunities here since basically that high right before the old FTX collapse, right? Is what everyone likes to refer to it as. So we obviously had the drawdown here and the gold pocket, which for weeks and weeks and weeks was looked to as the major bounce opportunity, right? The bounce area. This was not only the gold pocket here from low to high, which was also our value area high from our Q4 range, right? We didn't necessarily back test this, right, on the breakout. So very similar to when you're looking at a falling wedge, head and shoulders, any kind of other traditional pattern, right? You get those breakouts, you get the back test, and away you go. We got a really strong move up out of this range, never really came back to back test it. On top of that, this was also our gold pocket region as well. A previous monthly pivot, and then we have all this support that you can see just towards the left there. But yeah, gold pocket value area high, previous range was a big area that we were looking for, and came down to it pretty quickly, and got a really nice move away from it, which is what you wanted to see. Personally, I took the long. I actually didn't get it right at the exact 618 to 615 region because I did not preset it. For the reason that we see a lot of times where you get a preset and it actually blows through, comes back up and reclaims. But I did get right there like 1693 in that region, somewhere like that. It's in the group for anybody that's been paying attention to that. So targets to the upside, went back immediately towards the monthly open, 1605. After that, it was November high, and then clearing that region, we came right up and kissed it. Was 1780, right? What was that? Well, a couple things that I noted for Bitcoin, right? Let's just take a look at Bitcoin real quick. So also to note, Bitcoin had the exact same setup, right? Basically just shot straight out of the previous quarterly range here. Didn't come back and back test, had a nice gold pocket layout over it as well. Front ran the outer shoulder here at the 6.5. Back tested the previous value area high, and then just away we went, right? Yearly pivot for Bitcoin has effectively been met here. Magic pointed out too, like we front ran, the term front ran, but this is an average in price, and you came up to it shy of about 0.34%. So shout out to Magic Internet Money for calculating that target back in November while we were trading this price action, and then obviously targeted this as it was generated beginning of the year, and we've obviously had been met that now several months or a couple months later. Uh, One thing I've been looking at for the Ethereum price action is that Bitcoin, Ethereum, at times, they tend to trade as far as percentage gains go. So I got to kick on the old fan here. Just watching the morning update from the boys, and Magic's over there with a space heater, and I'm with a space fan. Florida's hot as balls out here. So the move up here for Bitcoin, right, has been pretty much hand in hand as far as percentage gains go for Ethereum. So from the low to the high, right, we're looking at about 70%. And for Ethereum, generally, I think we're about the same ballpark so far. Yeah, right at about 66%, give or take, and that's 72% difference there. So the reason I bring that up is because we've seen, very similar movements along the way, and where we were from just even month open all the way up to the yearly pivot for Ethereum, which is obviously still our, major statistical target here. It was about 20% away, while Bitcoin was only about 8% at the time. So I was targeting, something in that vicinity when looking at the price action as well. Just simple market structure. Obviously, we have a previous high right under the peak over here, so to speak. I don't know if you can see that on YouTube or TikTok and YouTube here. I guess both. And that came in about 1786, right? The exact level, however, was that Q3 range that we were looking for to get rotated, right? So honestly, to the dollar was where we came up to. You can see I had alerts set for it here, and another take profit from the trade here. So got the rejection at the moment. We basically just came up and took the highs, essentially from February. We have our February high comes in just below us here. I'm sorry, just above us, but just below where we came through. Nice swing failure pattern on the daily time frame, shot through the level, closed back below. So essentially, you'd be looking for a potential short here. Only thing is, I feel like everybody's looking for the shorts, but for me, it'd really be more so like losing 1680 would be a little bit more of a clearer, short idea here. And from there, we'd be looking back down to the month open. We got our month pivot in that region as well. The one thing, not the one thing, but something to just kind of keep in mind as well is that there's the weekly pivots for this week for both Bitcoin and Ethereum, and for a lot of altcoins as well. This is a statistical target for the week, right? So this is for this session, which is through Sunday afternoon, 8 p.m. Eastern. High statistical hit rate that we come back to this area, about 80%. So meaning that there's going to be 2 out of every 10 though that we don't come back to. But that is back down in this region as well. So easy target if we do start making our way back down into that region. Let's pull a little local gold pocket here. And that local gold pocket obviously lines up right with the weekly pivot as well. So I pointed that out last night. So that's something to keep in mind also. That'd be just a very, technical target back down to the downside. And not only is that, it's the technical statistical target as well. So very much, a short opportunity potentially back down to that region from where we are now. About a 10% move. That would actually be pretty epic. Otherwise, we are holding this November high. So at the moment, I think that's something to be said. We have not actually held this for more than about 2 or 3 days since we obviously have made that high. So we have now since closed a daily candle above that November high. Obviously now we have our February high, and now we have our quarterly range that we can look to, which is now the current high. So very easy invalidation as far as more continuation to the upside. And we still got the overall target being 1989 in the short term here. So it's pretty much Ethereum in a nutshell, in my opinion. So, downside wise, if you're looking for any kind of potential short, I would really be looking to see if we lose that 1680 on, a pretty concrete closing basis, start losing some 4 hourlies and get the back test and then look down towards that month open, month pivot, and then that weekly pivot there, which, like I said, is the gold pocket as well. Now our new local gold pocket from low to high. And then from there, potentially we look for some, continuation to the upside, or maybe we just get it from here. And that's sort of where I lean almost, just kind of seeing how aggressive I think everybody's kind of trying to short at the moment. But um, either way, that is what I'd be looking for still over time, looking to see if we take it up to that yearly pivot here. So that's where we are. Nice, honestly, short and sweet. I don't even know what the time is on here right now. All right, let's see if I can break this down anymore too. About as easy as she gets. Go through some of the alts we were looking at. Filecoin, right? You ever catch yourself saying the same dumb shit all the time? Like I always say right after I start a conversation. I don't know why. Right? Right. We had this re-entry here, back test of quarterly bow here, targeting to the upside. Couple of high targets over here. Met a weekly level at 948. Obviously, got the pullback from low to high before the yearly rally there. We had the gold pocket lying right up with the Val. So right back to it. Once again, bounce opportunity. Obviously came with Bitcoin and Ethereum on the overall just market explosion there. And from here, looking to take it up. If we clear that 945, there's an untapped quarterly pivot at 1241. Got the yearly up here at 1483. Overall range is going to be rotated to about 1749, clearing the, barring that we continue higher there. Matic, Magic's chart for Matic, absolutely nailed, right? He was looking for a harmonic that played out beautifully. I was looking for the backfill of this untapped monthly pivot at the time. Obviously, that's been met. This was also a back test of a previous range high and the gold pocket. So obviously, we came down, and this is the reason why you don't want to not front run, but the preset, right? If you're going to preset for trades, a lot of times this ends up happening, right? So if you're up in this region and you're targeting, to come back down to here, obviously you could preset for taking profit on a trade if you're in one, but to enter a new trade, this was about a 9% drawdown before we actually turned around, right, and came back up. Target for this already been met. One of the major ones to the upside would have been back to the yearly pivot, right? See, there it is, it's saying right again. After this, we've got an untapped monthly up here at 127. From there, old range above us. Old yearly macro gold pocket comes in at about 193. Basically, that rotates the range above us. Then we're looking at previous year open, potentially new all-time highs. Maybe Matic's the first one that goes back in the price discovery. But yeah, the stair stepper, definitely be. This was the move here, short term. And I say the move as it, like, that would be the only thing. But this was just, a target as we came up. A nice 20% bounce from here. 128 would be next. 134, back to the previous point of control. And then really, I think we're going to probably rotate that range above us and hit that macro gold pocket about $2. They rug pulled. Somebody rug pulled something. Gala been rug pulled. Take a look at Gala. Mana was another good one too. We'll take a peek at that here in a second. Gala. I'm just really looking at Gala in a real simple range. idea here, which I could probably update this a bit. But we low, I mean, super. This is all I had on here, honestly, was low to high, came down to the gold pocket, got the bounce. Right now, you got the quarterly VWAP. Uh, from there, looking to take it up to potentially, back into this range. I mean, Gala is one that, it's one of those smaller kind of, obviously a riskier play. Um, but these get going when they get going, right? So, potentially one of the major targets here over time, if we get it, and that's, just the key. Obviously, we got a whole range to rotate through up in this region. All that starts at about 5 cents. After that, you got an untapped quarterly pivot. Let's just go ahead and we'll just kind of update this a little bit. So, I mean, yeah, I just kind of look at this little region at the moment, kind of a little range within a range. Um, you got the developing range that we're in right now. Obviously, you got the deviation into the gold pocket back inside. 4931 is a major target for to the upside. And then you're looking to basically just rotate this range in full back to about 5.5 at that level. Then you're re-entering this other range. And then, like I said, that's really what I've been looking for a bit here. Just a potential range rotation above us. Mana, beautiful drop right to the gold pocket as well. Covering this last night in Forest's update. If anybody has any questions, by the way, on why Bitcoin is pumping, I urge you to go to Magic Internet Money's Bitcoin update from today. Obviously, there's been multiple for months. Um, just reward yourself with, in my opinion, hands down the best analyst out here. Take a peek at his video today on his YouTube channel. Obviously he's got TikTok as well, but we've been trying to grow the YouTube area, even though probably shouldn't say that too much on the old talk. But yeah, check that out. There's actually very technical reasons, obviously, that I was just going over for Ethereum as well. I can assure you this is not just whales manipulating the market. And there's just a simple air like the news, man. The news is, I don't know how anybody keeps up with the news. I'll be upfront with you. I used to do it. I used to try to incorporate it because I know that's what everybody wants to hear. You have to have the banks collapsing, and now it's the current news. Honestly, is the best version of the same news catalyst can be used for each outcome. If Bitcoin would have crashed on Friday, Monday, like the traditional markets did, simple news excuse would be because of the banks, right? Because of all the issues with Silvergate and all these banks closing. Flip side, literally crypto and Bitcoin pumps. It's because the banks are crashing and everybody's getting out of their banks and they're dumping it into crypto. I don't know if everybody was around back in COVID time, but we saw very quickly that that's not the case, if that's even a case. So I don't know, just an interesting thing. Once again, I mean, you can go round and round, and the debates are heated, but like I said, we've been looking towards these regions, and it's just a case of remaining neutral and identifying levels and reacting to it, and that's really as simple as it can be. Nobody knows where the market is going to go, right? So I'm not saying that anybody knows that. We can tell you 100%. Obviously, I've definitely been wrong in the past, um, and but it forced I forced myself to get better, I guess. And yeah, just treat yourself to Magic's update the last few weeks, and it's really interesting. And then obviously we got the altcoin updates here as well. So, but yeah, for Mana, honestly, this was a pretty clear head and shoulders pattern. But one reason why you want to take profits along the way on really any breakout, breakdown, however you're trading, uh, because if you were looking at this in the sense of a head and shoulders, you cannot even see this on screen. Sorry. Right, if you're looking at this as a head and shoulders neckline right at the range high, right? So this, super valid. Once we even when you get back into the old range, what is our target, right? Essentially, you're looking down, you're targeting back towards your point of control. But once you're going to have those stair steps along the way here, and a couple of targets down the road, depending on how zoomed in. This is the daily time frame, so if you're breaking in and you want to look for like things like weekly open, daily VWAPs. Obviously, this gold pocket was another one. You got the EQ of the range here, and then you got the overall target being the point of control. I mean, realistically, a deviation like this tends to actually lead to a full range rotation. So I guess all the way down in the range low. But this is why you want to, you have to stagger your profits along the way on, and I'm just talking short-term trades, obviously. Anybody looking for like spot positions or things of that nature, you could be, I guess, DCAing along the way into these areas. The gold pocket is obviously a very technical target down the road here. I'm always really bad about reading my lines. There's easier ways to do it. Yeah, got the breakout, back test of the value area high, down we go, up once again. Rejection here at the high, quarterly VWAP, right, sitting in here as well, right at the high. So now, next case is you're at resistance. You can't necessarily long here, but what you want to wait for, and you can very well set alerts on TradingView on your phone, on the desktop model as well. Just very simply, right? Come over here, click the plus, boom, it's going to send you a text, email, however you set it up. But you want to see this broken above, get the reclaim, and then from there you can attempt to run this back up to the next value area low. And then the targets for mana to the upside, downside, very simple. It's still the point of control. You got the EQ, point of control, and value area low. So it comes back down towards about 46 cents, 40 cents, 27 cents, right? In theory, that's what you should anticipate at the moment as we're coming up to resistance, and you very well could just pull one of these, right? Come up, lower high, da-da-da. Things change when you flip that area we just put on as an alert, right? So 64 cents. Kind of having Bitcoin and Ethereum and the rest of the market in mind as well when you're looking at some of these. Right, so looking for that flip, get up in this region. As far as upside targets go, we got a really big range above us. And then the goodie box up here, all the way at $1.37 to $1.42. Getting ahead of ourselves in that regard. But yeah, staircase up would be back into 75 cents. Big one is going to be 89 cents, 97, $1.07, value area high, goodie box. What's going on, Raymond? Daily close was bearish for Ethereum, if that's what you're saying. I mean, technically, yeah. In the sense of we came in, we took the highs, and we closed back below the level, right? So essentially, yeah. I mean, that's not necessarily very bullish in the short term here. And I don't know how old that question is. I'm sorry, I just kind of saw it on there. But that's why, yeah. I mean, in the short term here, targeting back down, potentially all the way back down to 1512. And then obviously we'd see how things react at that area. It's on the table. And like I said, that's a very technical target to the downside. Just as simple as our gold pocket to the low here, right? We got a new one now from local low, local high. You can see how that lines up exactly with the untapped weekly pivot from this week. A reminder that last week we went all the way to Sunday, 2 hours before the weekly close, and we got this push up. Weekly pivot was in this region. Obviously, we were living all the way down here, and then within like a few hours, right before the end of the week, we actually came up and tagged it. So, that can definitely happen again this week. So that's definitely a key area for the week to keep in mind is about 15.15. Monthly open still playing a big role. November high. I mean, this, in my opinion, I mean, this is one, two, three, four, five, 7 levels. Obviously, one is a target to the upside still. But this is, even yearly open, I could even just take this off. This gold pocket, in a sense, kind of outdated at this level, but I just wanted to kind of keep it on there to showcase, where we came down to. Um, but yeah, I mean, in theory, this is really what I'd be looking for in the short term here in the next couple of days here. Clear the February high, which once again, where did we come up to as a high in general? We came right up, I mean, to the dollar, right up to the Q3 value area high, which we'd been looking, same thing, right? We were just looking at mana in this sense. You had this huge deviation, right? We got out of the range, boom, back test here. What do we do? You re-enter it. What's the most likely scenario? You rotate the range. How you get there? I'm sorry, hitting the iPad. How you get there is the question. And obviously we had a big bumpy road, but this range has now been cycled in full, rotated. The easy way to erase the squiggles. All right. So yeah, and for anybody just looking into Bitcoin as well, I mean, I've just had a couple areas here. I keep it super simple, just for when I go on with Forest, obviously keeping in mind as well. But I've really just been looking at this back test of the last quarterly range. Obviously, I correlate my Ethereum analysis with what Bitcoin is likely to do as well. And like I said, that's why with targeting that $26,700 region, 1780 made a lot of sense, because we had just been going toe for toe as far as percentage gains go. And actually, Bitcoin's technically outperformed Ethereum at this point with a 69% pump all off the low. And Ethereum, I think, had a 67. So could see a little turnaround here in alts, and Ethereum pushes up, gets that move up to the yearly pivot. Altcoins get a nice little push up. Bitcoin maybe stays a little sideways, potentially flat, pull back. Obviously get those often. Daily close here as well. Same thing as Ethereum. Now that I'm looking at it, huge SFP. So we were talking about this on, I think it was maybe Sistine Research. So we came up to the level, right? And you got to very barely, pushed up and took the highs. I mean, you're talking less than 1% here. And in that sense, right, anybody that had been getting real comfortable in their shorts for a long time, anticipating lower, obviously either saw it all come back up and almost get erased, potentially take a loss, only to just get a little bit more ease back into thinking we were coming back down, to now anybody that didn't close out, didn't take profits in any of those shorts, and these would really be a late short, obviously from our $69,000 high. But now they've effectively been stopped out, right? You get that swing high, take out all the stops, met a statistical target, close back below the level. That is a pretty clean swing failure pattern if I've ever seen one, actually, and that's on the daily time frame. And you got it on both Ethereum and on Bitcoin. So definitely something to note. More for a short term at least pullback. And then the same thing applies, though. You really have to just have the invalidations in play, right? So if we start to clear up and start closing above these regions, obviously that's your sign, line in the sand. You don't have to wait for just a complete move up and claim of the yearly pivot and then go from there. Obviously that's a pretty big move, but that would also be your next best. I say best. The next, what's the word? It's a late night right now. I'm thinking confirmation, I guess, if you want to call it that. Safer play. You just missed out. You'd missed out on a little bit of a move. But realistically, I mean, it's not a great idea to be buying right this second. And once again, you're at resistance. It's a really hard thing for people to swallow, because in the same breath, I know I'm saying that we could literally go higher, right? So we break higher and we push up and it's a 5 or 6% move, which is pretty big for Bitcoin. But you really want to see where things are going to go here, because at the moment, yeah, it's definitely short setup at for the time being. Weekly pivot also for this week, untapped on Bitcoin, statistical target to the downside, about 70-80% hit rate on those. Like I said, 3 out of 10, 2 out of 10 don't get met, obviously, but they are high statistical hits within the same session. So that is between now and the end of the week uh, that we come back down to this region. On Ethereum, that is the local gold pocket. For Bitcoin, not necessarily the case as far as a perfect lineup. But yeah, I mean, if we start closing or start coming back down, monthly open is a big one, obviously, and this a little bit of a distance away from where we are now, about 7%. But your month open is obviously going to bode pretty well there. Let's see if I got the monthly pivot on here. Probably do. No, monthly pivot comes in right there. 23 to, so yeah, I mean, month open, I would say, is as far as a short-term target, that would be one to definitely keep on the dock there. Go ahead and throw your alert there. Come down and lose that, right? And that next one is that weekly pivot. You got the gold pocket somewhere in that region right here. And then, yeah, potentially, I mean, at that point, you might just be pulling off the old, still high, lower high, higher high. Maybe that didn't make sense. High or low, you know what I'm saying here. So uptrend in general. So that's what we'd be looking for. And that's really what it comes down to, right? So big target has been met. It's basically just took all the highs from last year, summertime through now, closed back below. So that is definitely something to be aware of. But that can also get turned around too. So you just really got to pay attention. I mean, it's pretty easy in my opinion, if that makes sense. I know that that's can also be a hard thing to do for many. But the time, when we get in these really, man, I'm really bad about making sure you guys can see what I'm looking at. I'm sorry. Getting these really slow times here, it's pretty important to plan out, the reaction here, right? So it's pretty much where we are now as well. Kind of getting into a point where we're slowing down here. I mean, I know that today was a pretty big one, but you got some time, right? Prices kind of slowed down a bit. For Ethereum, we're holding above a pretty key level, in my opinion, that we've had for a while, 1680, and we're pretty close to it as well. So that's a little bit easier of I don't know. And to me, it's just simpler, to just kind of keep this in mind. Losing this level, start closing below it, get the back test. I mean, then yeah, like I said, looking down to back to the month pivot, monthly open, which is in this 1605 region. You got a real beautiful setup right here with the gold pocket all the way back down at the weekly pivot. You can do one of two things. Either wait for that to come for potential new long opportunities, spot entries, or if you're going to try to short, or if you're already in a short position from these regions. Obviously, the short from the overall range high at the moment would have been pretty money. But you would almost had the preset for that. I'm sure that didn't stay up there too long. And then, yeah, clear this little region, and technically we could anticipate that. Granted, like I said, you got the swing failure right here, closing back below the low, and still within the range here. So you got to keep those in mind. So for me, I mean, realistically, I'd say I would target back down to 1615 for ETH. Tag that month that weekly pivot, which pretty decent little drop, 11%. Kind of knock out the late longers, right? 10 and 11% move to the downside from here would definitely close out some trades, and potentially from there get the bounce higher. Otherwise, there's probably a ton of shorts piling in right here at the moment too, and just continue higher and just get that short squeeze on the way up. So it's just level by level. Really try to translate that as clear as possible. But yeah, at the moment, you're really into resistance and really just kind of have to wait and see how things react if you're not in a position. But upside target still remains 1988. That's all I got. All right. Thank you all for hanging out with me on this lovely Tuesday night. It's almost midnight here, so I'm going to go ahead and call it an evening. Um, be back on for another update on TikTok, at least on Thursday, if not before. But yeah, thanks all for joining me. Hope you're all doing well. Take your time. Don't rush in anything. Don't FOMO. And yeah, it's exciting to get some moves in the market here after a good period of time of just planning. So definitely things coming to fruition. And the one thing I do want to point out before I sign off is that this is just like I've been noting this, right? That if we actually come through, continue onward and upward, break this range high and make it up to this region, while short term, yes, I would imagine we have almost a similar situation as Bitcoin did, right? Get a pretty decent little pullback off it. This is not like a blindly short the whole market or anything like that. This is nothing more than a target. And honestly, if we come through and really like you really be paying attention at this point, because if we actually come through and claim this region, the term on like Donkey Kong was brought up recently, but things can really get out of hand in a good way, right? So, but don't marry that idea. Of course, we'll see how things go, but yeah, last target up here for the short term, run. And I mean that from, basically the beginning of the year, right? So this was our yearly target. This is just the mean reversion back to the average. This is the average of price from last year. And at the moment it's untapped. So that's what we're targeting at the moment. Get there, reevaluate, go from there. All right, everybody. Cheers. Have a great morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in this beautiful world. And I will see you all in the next live stream. All right, just kicked off TikTok, but I just saw a couple of comments here on YouTube, so I'll stick on here for a minute. Go ahead and go full screen here for everybody. Maybe not. Oh, can't change the orientation after I go, I guess. So, all right. Question was any significant levels to pay attention to between 1744 and 1789? 1744. Why 40? Oh, because I have it as the February high. Yeah, I mean, really, this overall range where we actually have tagged now the value area high is 1781, give or take in that $1780 region. That's a pretty big one because essentially when you look over here too, you got the overall high comes in this area. So, I mean, realistically, come up and actually clear that level. You're breaking out of the range at that point and get a back test and hold that. At that point, man, I really wouldn't imagine that we wouldn't just trek up to that region. But let me see what else would be up there. I think that there's a few dailies. Nope, that's already where we are. Cleared those. Yeah, honestly, I mean, I feel like that's really all you have to be aware of, in my opinion. It's pretty much, and even just on a market structure, even if we weren't looking at specified areas and levels, I mean, this is a pretty clear. You clear this high, it's up to the next high. This could potentially get front ran as far as a high would go because most people would probably be looking for that. It's right over 2,000. That's why I actually like the pivot comes in a little bit below it because wouldn't that be poetic to come up and just short of 2K, that big rounded number, and get a pullback, maybe even just back to this range high, something like that. But yeah, that's the areas I'd look for. I mean, I wouldn't even overcomplicate it too much. Obviously, there's going to be interim and intraday plays as we get those new datas and new ranges developing on on a day trade schedule. But as far as just daily time frame, I'm looking at here, and um, just some levels that take some time to get to. That's what I would look for as far as upside, and then like I said, downside is pretty simple as well. 1680. And then it's a smooth trip back to month open, month pivot. You've got the gold pocket and weekly pivot at that point. And then we'd see how things react here. If we're going to start losing that region, then we probably are going to, come back, run the range again. Because like I said, we've now rotated this range. So if we actually ended up coming back to these regions, a couple things, would be in mind is that 1 month open, lose that, you're pretty much losing your point of control as well. If you don't get a decent reaction out of this area, meaning a decent little bounce, you start to come in, regarding this as resistance, then, it's pretty indicative that we'd see that range val again, all the way back down to like 1326. But yeah, I really wouldn't overlook this region though. This is just the same as, when we were looking at this one, it's big bounce territory. And at the moment, this is a big target to the downside for this week. Doesn't mean we have to hit it. There's definitely some fib confluence as we stack the gold pocket there as well. But things can very well change. And like I said, people could be piling in the shorts here, and we end up just kind of pushing up out of this, right? So that is that's it in a nutshell. All right, everybody. For the most part, everybody in YouTube is usually from the group. So I will see you all back in the group here in a bit. And until next time, everybody else.